Hello all, welcome to Linguistics Scholars YouTube channel. Recently, UGC NET has released answer key for June 2026 session. Today, in this video, we are going to analyze the question paper of linguistics and by following and looking at the patterns of previous years and the difficulty of the question paper, we are going to provide you expected cutoff. So please watch the video till the end, as it is help you whether to continue the preparation or you can work on the research proposal. As part of this video, first we are going to divide the questions into chapter wise weightage. Okay, after that I'm going to give my impression on the question paper, including paper 1 and 2, and after that we are going to look at the questions from the each chapter and their level, whether they are easy, moderate or the odd, and by calculating the number of easy, medium and odd questions, we are going to develop the expected cutoff for UGC NET, JRF and NET, including categories. Okay, so now we'll first start with the chapter wise weightage of the question that they have asked in the June 2026 examination. So this is the chapter wise weightage of questions. Okay, we all know that there are 10 units, but we assume that we are going to get 10 questions from each unit, but we know that there are 10 questions from the passage comprehension, right? So we are going to get 90 questions from the 10 units. So what we usually expect, expect that 9 questions from the every unit, but in reality this is not the case. As you can see, in the first unit, language and linguistics, we only got 6 questions. In the second unit, phonetics and phonology, we got 9. Okay, it is as per the expectations. And morphology, we got same 9 questions. And the most important thing here is combining syntax, semantics and the pragmatics together, 31 questions. We're getting 31 questions. Here you have to understand this is very important, because from these chapters you are getting 30% of questions, and you know that 10% of questions from the passage comprehension. So if you prepare syntax, semantics and pragmatics thoroughly, you are able to answer 40 questions out of 100. So the most important and the weighted topics for the UGC NET examination are semantics and pragmatics and the syntax. These 2 chapters are very important. And from the historical linguistics, we only got 5 questions. And the social linguistics, we got 9, which is expected. And from aerial typology and South Asian language family, we got 7 questions. From the psycholinguistics, language teaching and testing, we got 6 questions. And from translation, lexicography, computational linguistics, stylistics, media and language, we got 8 questions. So here, based on this pattern, we have to focus the chapters of very high weightage. They are syntax, semantics and pragmatics, but weightage is not only the criteria. So you need to focus on also the chapters which are as per the expectations. As you can see, phonetics and phonology, morphology, social linguistics, these are the 3 units which are asked the questions as per the expected, and especially most of the questions from these units, phonetics and phonology, morphology and social linguistics, are easy. When they asked more questions from these units, but half of the questions I can say like more than half are easy and remaining are very hard, or very hard. So this how they have asked the questions chapter wise. Okay, and the most weightage given to syntax, semantics and pragmatics, and the equal weightage for phonetics, phonology, morphology and social linguistics, and very less weightage given to the historical linguistics and the language and linguistics unit. So now I'm going to give my impression on both the paper 1 and paper 2, because the cutoff is completely depend on the both the papers, right? So the overall paper is moderately odd. I cannot in the and even because it is, I can say it is maybe moderate, but the both papers are relatively lengthy. So as a result, I'm saying it moderately odd. Paper 1 is moderately odd, but in DI, mathematical reasoning and aptitude, passage comprehension, you can easily answer 4 out of 5 questions. Most of them concepts are already asked in previous year questions. There are very few, around 3 to 4 questions. Around only 3 to 4 questions are the new concepts that are not previously discussed are asked. And when I attempted, I able to score 39 out of 50. So, but in this paper, the time management is the key, because the paper is lengthy. In terms of DI, 2-3 questions are very lengthy, especially for mathematical reasoning. Most of the 3 questions are very lengthy, and passage is bit like short, so that you can easily answer them, but it taking more time for DI and mathematical reasoning and aptitude. So time management is key. If you have practiced enough mock tests for paper 1, you can easily score around 40 marks, 40 questions, so you can score around 80 marks. Okay, with respect to the paper 2, like they have morely focused on facts rather than the concepts, and the questions are lengthy. Very few questions are direct, around 18 to 12, and 6 to 10 concepts are odd, in the sense maybe we are not familiar with as of now, and they are not asked previously as well. And they have given more number of questions on authors and their respective books or the works, and where the memory plays a major role, but still I can manage to correct 71 out of 100. So if you prepare thoroughly, you can easily score. But here the key is memory, because many of the questions are based on the facts, not on the concepts. Only very few are around the definitions, which are based on the concept, and the remaining other based on the memory, and the most of the questions are statement based on the list. So you need a proper understanding of the concept. So the memory is the key for the paper 2. Now we were going to look at the unit wise questions. Okay, for the 10 units, how many questions are asked and what is the level of questions. Okay, so in the first unit, language and linguistics, they have asked a question on writing system. Okay, like they have given a list of languages and ask you to identify which out of them is logographic writing. And there is a one question on Sasur, the concept of language. So from which language it has derived from. Okay, and there is one more question on icons, sign, gestures and didactics, and this question basically easy but a little lengthy, so I marked it as a moderate question. And this question is a bare fact, we most of the times we may come across but able to answer in the examination, so I categorize it as a moderate. And then there is one question on the reflexivity of language. They have given in the definition, and we need to identify the concept. Okay, they have given the definition, we need to identify the concept, and so it's very easy. What is reflexivity in language? And phonotactics of natural language, It's like they have given statements, given the statement, and we need to identify what it is, okay, in the brain of a native language, and that is nothing but phonotactics. And it's very easy question, that order of language units from bigger to smaller, and they are given like sound, syllable, phrases, words, and we need to arrange A, B, C, C, D, E like that. So it's a very easy question. So most of the questions from this chapter are easy. Okay, we almost all know the concepts, but you need to remember, you have to remember. So as I mentioned, memory plays a major role here, even though all the questions are easy. And when it comes to phonetics and phonology, except this emic approach and the phonological process, and all the remaining questions are very easy, and most of them are very direct. Except these statement based questions. Okay, here this is also easy, but you don't have to confuse, because they have given phonological process on the other side, and the definitions you need just to a map. Okay, and these are all velarization is a process, co-articulation they have given definition, and these are like list, they have given the form and burst, transition, resonance, and you need to map with the definition. They have given the definition of intonation. We need to identify the intonation, and we have to say the place, manner, and voice of articulation, differences between pin and pan. So most of the questions in this chapter are easy. Most of the questions from this chapter are easy, and distinctive features is the most important. We must read about these distinctive features in every class of phonetics and phonology, right? So these are questions very easy. So as I said, apart from the syntax and the semantics, apart from the syntax, semantics, and pragmatics, which has a high weightage, it is also important to focus on the units where you are getting very easy questions. If you miss these easy questions, you cannot able to clear a NET or GRF. With respect to morphology, here as you can see, most of the questions are really easy, and most of the questions are about the definitions of geromorphism, allomorph, more concept of morpheme, clitics and affixes, morphological process, okay, typology. So all the concepts you must know when you by the completion of morphology course. But one thing that you have to focus is reading and practicing is necessary, and the clarity of the concept. Okay, and all the concepts are very easy, but there is one hard question on geromorphism, because there are two questions on geromorphism. One is easy and another is very hard. They have given in the statements and relative features of geromorphism, as I remember. And there is a problem with this question, acronym and initialization. They have given TIFF, that is thank God it is Friday. It has two answers. It can be an acronym and initialization, because some may say there is no, we can say it a TGIF. So we can say T and GIF, right? So if it is say TGIF, then it became an initialization, and when we say TGIF, and it has become an acronym. So this question has two answers, and we have challenged this question, okay, already. And next, with respect to syntax, you can see many 3 stars and 2 stars here. As I said, there are many questions from the syntax, and they are, most of them are moderate or odd, and relatively the odd questions are high when compared to the moderate questions. And you barely found barely 3 to 5 questions out of 15 are easy. One question on the phrase grammars, and other on causatives, okay, and thematic rules, mode of sentences are easy. So 4 questions are easy out of the 16 questions they have asked, and the remaining are really odd. But the concepts, out of 16 concepts, we almost come across some 12 concepts in our regular syntax class, but the 4 or 5 concepts we may feel new, such as split VP hypothesis, okay, and then experiences, some, okay, and nature of product languages. We understand the concept of product languages in the classes, but he has given, like, the question is asking about a nature of product language we may not come across, and this question is really hard because, and this given in the form of list and the 4 different principles of syntax they have given. So it's really a very hard question, and most of the questions are odd. So even though it is a high weightage chapter, but depth is necessary to attempt all the questions in this chapter. Okay, and the remaining questions like Panni Astadhyay, Panni and grammar, and we have got a question Koraka relations, syntactic process and the description, ambiguity sentences, phrase grammar, question formations. Okay, Chomsky works in chronological order. They have given 5 books, but we may familiar with 2-3 books, but remaining 2 will be difficult to arrange them in order because you need to know them, otherwise you cannot arrange them in the order. And the expert theory, structural dependency principle. So most of the questions are moderate to odd, not very easy, even though it has a high weightage. Here this chapter has moderate questions rather than easy and odd questions, so it can be a good choice to complete the syllabus, and really we can score good marks in the syntax and semantic if you read very thoroughly. The first question from the Grace maxims, which is very easy. They have given some statements, and then they have given 2 statements, and we have to say whether which maxim has applied and euphemism, and they have examples, so that we need to identify what is a correct example of euphemism. And they have given a statement about ethnomethodology. They have given an explanation. We have to identify the term, what is the explanation means. That is nothing but ethnomethodology. And there is one problem with the didactic expression question, because the location of the speaker at the time of the speech is given as the answer, but it is not a proper definition of didactic expressions. It is basically a proper definition of didactic center. So we have also shortened this question, okay, as to give everyone marks, because they have to ask it as a didactic expression rather than they have to ask it as a didactic center rather than didactic expression. And then concepts and the linguists from the semantics and pragmatics, and they have given ungrammatical sentence and what is the problem with the one particular sentence, and the work of Paul Welt, words of discourses. And there is one moderate question on metaphors, types of antonyms and examples. So it's like given in the form of list, and speech act, illocutionary and its types, so it's also asked in the form of list. So and implications and their types, it's also list. Entailment, it is one of the very easy question, and the regularly asked in the examination. Praxis easy, sense relations easy. Spota theory proposed by Bhartrhari is many times asked in the previous year examination, so it is one of the important from the ancient Indian grammars. And from the historical linguistics, there is one question on the match, and as you can see, there are 2 questions on the neo-grammarian theories. Okay, and this also falls under the neo-grammarian theories. And ablaut and umlaut proposed by Grimm, this is also covered when you're covering the Grimm's law. So basically from historical linguistics you have to study the neo-grammarian theories. If you study, you can answer most of the questions from the historical linguistic, apart from the concept of split and match. Okay, and these concepts are very important, and the questions whenever they asked from the historical linguistics, and most of them from these topics itself. When it comes to sociolinguistics, they asked endangerment of language, processes that does not belong to. They have given 4 options. We need to identify which is not part of the endangerment of the language. And the concept of speech community, like they asked who proposed the concept of speech community, that is Robert Lepage. And they have given the definition of a linguistic area, and we need to identify who proposed it. M.B. Eminu, none other than. And they have given the definition of language landscape, and they have asked a question on Threadgill study of speech of Norway, very like famous concepts and social linguistics and well-known research. And stages in language planning, arrange in the order. It's basically a very easy question, but we have to have an idea of the planning. Okay, and then there is one question on dialectal survey. They are asked about expansion of nouns, that is a non-mobile, older, rural, male speakers. Okay, this is the selection of sample for the dialectal survey. And there is one question on Gale's ethno-linguistic vitality. When it comes to areal typology and South Asian language families, India has a social linguistic area who proposed. It is proposed by B.P. Pandit. Many of us very familiar. And there is one question on non-both final Indian languages, and there is a question on Greenberg universals. We are all maybe familiar with, so but it is a little confusing because they asked difference between substantive and absolute universals. And Dravidian, there is a question on Dravidian languages, there is a question on absolute universals, conjunct verbs, and split irrigative languages from Indian subcontinent. I can classify this as very moderate, because if you have an idea of Indian and South Asian languages, you can easily answer these questions. Okay, very easily you can answer this question. These are the popular concepts that are many times asked in the previous year questions. And after that, from the 9th unit, from the psycholinguistics, language expectation, we can expect critical period hypothesis. And here these concepts are very new in this area. They are never asked in the previous year questions, and this is the first time they're going to ask. Okay, so please read on these topics, because there are chances to ask in the upcoming examinations. And this is also built in syllabus, also new concept that they are asked in the examination, but most of us familiar as Pitcodo belongs to the language learning and teaching. If you do the guesswork, you can easily answer this question as well. When it comes to 10th chapter, we got two questions from the translation. One is equivalence and the concepts of equivalence proposed by and apply linguistic studies with relation to translation studies. And we did not get any question from the lexicography, and we got 3 questions from the computational linguistics, speech recognition, speech-to-speech translation, subscription to full computational linguistics. All the questions are very easy. And from stylistics, language and media, we got questions, types of languages and definitions, informal to most polite sentences. They have given a list of sentences and asked us to arrange the informal to most polite, and they have given the definition of stylistics, and we need to identify what is the term that can use to. And speech, there is one question on speech on human, even though it is very easy, but you need to read the question focusedly because it is lengthy and statement based. So if we look the difficulty of the questions, we got 40 easy questions. Good, 40 easy questions. So good aspirant who worked for it can answer 40 out of 40 and can score 80. And moderate questions are 30. Okay, and a good aspirant can answer 20 at least and can score 40 marks. And hard questions are 20. A good aspirant at least score 7, so that he can score 14 marks. So he can score 140 out of 180, because 90 questions plus 10 passes comprehension. So if we add 7 correct questions from passes comprehension, and a good aspirant can also score around 35 to 36 in paper 2, so he can score 32 marks. So the cutoff for the general JRF category would be 220 out of 300. On this basis, if we categorize marks for the JRF net and the category wise, for the unreserved, for JRF it's going to be around 220, and for assistant professor it's going to be around 204, for EWS, for JRF 214, and for the assistant professor 198, for OBC it's going to be 216, and the assistant professor 194, for SC it is going to be 208, and for assistant professor it is 186, for ST 202, and for the associate professor 174. So this is based on the questions. apart from the questions and the difficulty level, we have also developed these cutoff based on the previous year cutoff mark. So this is going to be very accurate, and based on your marks you start preparing for the next session, or else you start working on your research proposal to get admission into the PhD. Okay, so please do comment your marks and let you know your marks, so that it's become so easy, and you can also compare in the comment section and you can prepare based on it. Okay, if you have any queries regarding the any question or any concepts in linguistics and plain linguistics, you can write to us at netjrfscholars@gmail.com. Please subscribe to our channel Linguistic Scholars for more interesting videos on linguistics and